Under Armour just reporting results, beating on both the top and the bottom lines. But the company did cut its full-year revenue outlook. It also said that earnings per share would be at the upper end of its prior forecast, though. Over the weekend, the company confirmed that it is the subject of a federal investigation by the Justice Department and the SEC over its accounting practices. Under Armour began responding back in July of 2017 to requests for documents and information related to its accounting practices and related disclosures. The company says it is cooperating with both investigations and that it believes its accounting practices and disclosures were appropriate. Let's bring in Jamie Merriman, an analyst at Bernstein. Jamie, there's a lot to kind of sort through here this morning. What do you think?
Good morning. Yeah, well, I think if we were only talking about the Q3 earnings, the story might be a little bit different. They did beat expectations on both top and bottom line, like you said, cutting full year revenue guidance, but expecting earnings to come in at the high end of guidance for the full year. But I think, unfortunately, that's going to be overshadowed this morning by the questions about the accounting investigation. That's what I've been hearing from investors so far this morning.
So what do you think, just in terms of this investigation? Are you concerned at this point? Do you change your rating as a result? Do you change your price target, or do you just wait and see?
Well, I think the first thing to do is to talk to the company. They have not yet responded to our requests for any more detail than what's been in the press. There is a conference call with management at 8:30, and I expect that this will be one of the key questions for them. I think it's difficult externally with their public reports to assess whether or not, the numbers have been accounted for appropriately. But I think it will just overshadow anything that they say today until there's more information. And, I think the question that I've heard from investors is, this investigation has been ongoing for, over 2 years at this point. And so it's hard to assess just over, one night what's happened. But that's quite a long time for this investigation to still be continuing. So
let's talk about some of your own thoughts before you got this news. Yeah. I know that back in September, you actually upgraded the stock because the stock had come under pressure and you thought the goals were achievable at that point. But I also know that in October, you took a look and said that the brand's resilience, I guess, with people who are under age 35 had come under pressure since 2017. Talk us through a little bit just where you think Under Armour is on this journey that it's been undertaking the last several years as they ran into some trouble with consumers.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I think that the big question for Under Armour from a fundamental perspective has really been performance in North America. And, that the revenue has been declining in North America, down about 4% in Q3. And that's really been where I've been more skeptical, I think, than some of the street, because we're starting to see cracks in terms of brand perception, as you said, specifically with consumers under 35. That's a problem when, that's a key part of the demographic for Under Armour. And with the stock still trading, in the mid-30s on an earnings basis, I think there is an expectation that revenue growth has to accelerate in North America again in order to justify that multiple. As you said, we upgraded the stock in September because it had come down by about 30%. But, we remain cautious on the sort of medium-term outlook. I think today, as we expected, they hit the bar in terms of what they had set, maintained guidance for the full year. But I'd say the question mark around revenue remains, right? North American revenue still declining, direct-to-consumer revenue still under pressure, and wholesale revenue down as well. And I think from a fundamental perspective, that's still a concern.
Stock's down about 11%. It was down by close to 15% before the earnings came out. Would you say step in and buy here because of this discount? Do you wait and see?
I think at this point you've got to wait and see. I think you've got to hear what management has to say on the call at 8:30. I don't think that the earnings will have changed anyone's mind this morning. The street was already at the high end of the full year guidance anyhow, so I don't think there's really much incremental there. So I think you really need to hear from management.